We left off at self-responsibility.
I think that you cannot think of anything as being of higher importance in my books than self-responsibility. And by that I mean learning to take responsibility for every important aspect of my life. And that means I'm responsible for my life and well-being. I am responsible for the level of consciousness I bring to my work. I am responsible for the level of consciousness I bring to my relationships. I am responsible for the level of consciousness I bring to my children, so forth. If I'm in a relationship, let's say, and things are not going right, something is wrong, I don't take the premise of, well, it must be her fault. Women, who the hell can understand them anyway? Stuff like that. And no real attempt to understand what's going on. But if there's pain in the room, I bear some relationship somehow of responsibility, not as guilt, but the recognition of the fact that a relationship is a two-party project, and there has to be some interaction. And if there is some interaction, there is some responsibility. Not responsibility in the sense of guilt. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not about guilt. Guilt is totally a wrong road. I was talking on the phone to a client a week ago, and I said to her, her husband left her, and she loved to do monologues on what was rotten about her husband. And I said to her, do you think you had any role perhaps to play? Have you ever wondered about what your role has been with regard to his unhappiness in the marriage? I said to her, what is your role, do you think? Is there anything that you do or did that could in any way be uncomfortable or difficult for him? She said, yes. Let me see if I can get it right now. She said, yes. My monthly periods were uncomfortable. And that's her contribution to being self-responsible. You understand? Mm. So she's like a absurdum. Nothing is more common than a husband. This is interesting. Either a wife comes alone or a husband comes alone, or one of them or two of them come together. So I asked, first thing I want to know if a couple will come in is, who initiated the idea of calling me?
Who's dragging who? Who's fixing who?
I know that if the wife called, there's hope. But if the husband calls, all my money is I'm not going to be able to repair the situation.
Why is that?
Because men dislike divorce, on average, so much. They will put up with a much longer period of suffering and frustration, maybe have affairs to console themselves with, but they do not want to. It's expensive, and it's painful, and men typically are much more enraged. They put up for too long on the premise, well, women, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's a lot of male bullshit. But, there's certain cliches we live by, or they do. Somebody else.
Other guys.
But I think that a woman wants to come in more often than not. She's more into, I would have to say, that's my impression, of rescuing the relationship. The guy, with exceptions to everything I say, they're not written in stone. I definitely have the impression that he's put up with too much, too long. And now you see, to talk about self-responsibility, if he comes in that way, I say, well, what is your role as you see it? What do you think happened between you? But then he is more likely he'll talk about what's wrong of hers, but he will, without too much help, also tell you what his role was. See, it's easier often to recognize, what am I staying in this relationship if I hate this person so much? And I do mean hate, because people come into the office sometimes and they're not hurt, they're not annoyed, they're not frustrated, they hate. And the question is, why do you wait with somebody that you hate? I mean, hate is a very serious word, But anyway, All I can say is empirically, what I found persuades me that with women, the men is much more likely to be farther down the track. In years gone by, when men had affairs but women did not, I might have hypothesized maybe the man does it because he's got a mistress now they didn't have before. I don't know if that was ever the issue, but it's not the issue now.
How did men have affairs and women didn't? Who were they having them with? That's a whole other topic. Okay, so self-responsibility.